The Netherlands is home to the Dutch, and it might seem like a country that is lacking in military due to the fact that it has a very peaceful attitude in the big world that we know of today. However, that is so far from the truth because the Dutch forces not only know that defense is a serious thing, but are also lethally trained to be one of the best fighting forces out there. Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to FTD Facts. My name is Dave Wobble, and welcome to the channel where I look at people, cultures, places, and militaries from all around the world. Now, I'm really excited because today we're going to look at the Dutch army, the army from the Netherlands. And the reason we're kind of doing this is simply because we've done a lot of videos on the Netherlands. We've talked about its special forces. We've talked about its air force and including its navy, and the navy was really big. So we're just continuing our series on the military of this country. Also for this video, some people might be expecting, modern day facts. Well, we are going to get into that, but let's be real. I'm also going to go into some historical facts as well because, well, you can't understand what a military is like unless you understand its history. So the Army of the Netherlands, officially known as the Royal Netherlands Army or Landmacht. Basically, this particular unit in the entire armed forces of the Netherlands is the land component, the guys on the ground. So we talking tanks, we talking soldiers, all that sort of stuff, and artillery. Now, it's actually been around for a while, with its official date of introduction being January 9th of 1814. However, that's really only the modern stylistic sort of army because it's actually been around for a lot longer. As a matter of fact, it's been around since at least 1572. Back then, these ground forces were simply known as the Dutch States Army, or the Staatsleger, and they operated under a government known as the States General of the Netherlands, which was also the Republic of the Seven United Netherlands, which was pretty much a bunch of different states that banded together to fight off the Spanish because they wanted independence. And although the country did have some form of military before it, the actual state army of the Seven United Netherlands Republic was introduced officially on September 25th, 1575, which makes the Dutch land forces one of the oldest armies and land forces in the entire world that is still going today. Now, like I said, one of the reasons this army was created in the first place was because this particular group of states wanted its own independence from Spain. So they created an army and thus to fight Spain as well. They also had to fight the French. And pretty much this army saw a lot of combat in what is known as the 80 Years' War, which lasted from 1568 to about 1588 for the Dutch campaigns. And of course, you might have heard in the past that there was a thing called the Army of Flanders. Well, that isn't the Army of the Netherlands. That was the Spanish army. And for the Netherlands State Army, one of the earliest, if not the first commander-in-chief of this army was Philip van la Lang. Now, during this time, this army, of course, didn't have anything like tanks or anything like that, of course, because they weren't invented during that time. But during that time, they had either cavalry units or light foot soldiers. But one really interesting thing is they say about half of the army was actually Dutch, where the rest of it was Frenchmen, Scotsmen, Irishmen, people from all over, Europe and the UK. And for the size of this army, at around 1588, the army consisted of approximately 20,000 troops. So one thing is you really gotta give this particular fighting force, the State Army of the Netherlands back in the day, some serious credit because these guys were, although they were classified as a mercenary, kind of a thrown together army, they could keep up with the major armies that were around the world. They could fight Spain. I mean, they fought the French as well. And surprisingly enough, for mercenaries, historians agree that they were extremely, if not one of the most well-organized militaries during the 17th and 18th century. However, unfortunately, due to the fighting with Spain, France eventually pretty much conquered the Netherlands, and the Netherlands became kind of I guess you would say, a puppet country of France. And because of that, many Dutch forces in this new army were actually major contributors to the Napoleonic Wars. Of course, this state army no longer continued to exist, and a new army was under the Batavian Republic control. This was in approximately 1795, which of course led to the Dutch land units joining the French to fight with Napoleon. Of course, the army changed once again in 1806 when the Kingdom of Holland was formed. Also, I did mention it before, but during the Kingdom of Holland, this was a major time when the Netherlands and Dutch people were pretty much influenced and forced to do things by the French. Because by 1810, the independent Dutch army was assimilated into the French army, known as the Grande Armée, and this was simply because of Napoleon's decision. However, it should also be mentioned that because of this, the French unit known as the 126th Infantry Regiment, which is pretty much still in use today, this particular unit has major Dutch influences. However, by 1814, the Netherlands became its own thing, thus a new army was created. And that's simply the one that we're talking about now. However, this army did have a different name, and it was once originally called the Netherlands Mobile Army. But this army did see combat in the 100 Days War, as well as the Belgian Revolution of 1830 and 1832, and the Waterloo campaigns, which were a part of the 100 Days War in 1815. But by the time the new century came about, things were changing for the country of the Netherlands, and as a matter of fact, they were going in a more peaceful sort of way. Because it should be mentioned that during the First World War, the Netherlands did not participate in any offensive way, and the country remained fairly neutral. But I know a lot of you guys might be thinking, well, I guess if they were, neutral, did they have an army? Well, actually, they did have a defensive army. Because by the time the war broke out in 1914, it was reported that the country had about 88,770 soldiers. However, as the war continued, apparently conscription was put into place, and that brought it up to 200,000 soldiers. Let's also not forget that certain individuals who were Dutch pretty much decided to volunteer for any army during the war as well. However, there's not really a lot of numbers on that, so I can't give you a figure. However, by the time the Second World War came, this is a completely different story. Similar to World War I, a lot of people think that the Netherlands was actually pretty much a neutral country. Actually, they pretty much weren't. Unfortunately for the Netherlands, they were thrown into the war when Germany invaded in May of 1940. And when I mean unfortunately, one reason why the Netherlands could not actually fight back is because most of their forces were obliterated very, very quickly. However, one thing that I do want to mention is the Princess Irene Brigade, which was made up of 1,600 Dutch troops that were stationed in Wolverhampton in the UK. And you know what? Because of their fighting, although it happened years later in 2006, this group was given the award of Freedom of the City to Wolverhampton because of what they did during the Second World War. Also, let's not forget about the Dutch East Indies Army, because in 1941, they had approximately 85,000 soldiers. However, those forces were unfortunately also defeated by the Japanese in 1942. Of course, some soldiers managed to come out of this alive, and they continued fighting in the Borneo campaigns, and of course saw combat in New Guinea. After the war, however, the Netherlands Army was part of the Indonesia Independence War of 1945 to 1949. However, since then, they also fought in the Korean War. They were also peacekeeping forces in Bosnia, Lebanon, Haiti, Cambodia, Cyprus, Ethiopia, and many more. Also in 1999, they were deployed in Kosovo, and in the early 2000s, they were in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Mali. But however, jumping forward to today, it is an army that has the size of about 25,000 soldiers. Keep in mind, I'm talking about the army, the land forces. I'm not talking about the entire armed forces of the Netherlands. And with that, the current commander of this army is Lieutenant General Leo Bulen. For the Army of the Netherlands, it is made up, of course, of infantry units, mechanized and motorized infantry units, which they say for the entire infantry units, there's about 7 battalions within the country. There is also artillery, air support, National Reserve Forces, and of course, Special Forces, which are known as the Korps Commando Troepen. And by the way, guys, I actually did a video on these guys, so if you guys want to check it out, I'm going to put a card right up here. Feel free to check it out. It's also going to be in the description box below if you want to check it out at the end of this video. Also, actually, I want to throw this out there. If you guys are liking this video and you guys want more content, be sure to hit that like button, because more likes mean good stuff. And if you're liking it, also hit the subscribe button and the bell notification for future videos. However, moving forward, I also want to mention a very interesting group called the Hussars van Barreel, which was once known as the 4th Hussars Regiment. And these guys are really fascinating because they are actually one of the oldest units that is currently in the Army of the Netherlands, dating back to 1585. Of course, within the entire army, there is medical, logistics, and other supporting units. Also, one really interesting thing when it comes to this particular army, and not a lot of other armies can say this, when it comes to their tanks, they actually share their tank divisions with Germany. They call it the pretty much the German-Dutch or the Dutch-German divisions. And basically in 2016, the 414 Panzer Battalion became a mixed Dutch and German unit, with about 100 Dutch soldiers and approximately 300 soldiers from Germany. And for this tank division, the country uses what is known as the Leopard 2A6, and they say they have about 18 of them. On top of that, for armored fighting vehicles, the country uses the popular CV-90, which is a Swedish-made vehicle, and they say they have about 141 of them. Of course, on top of that, they have the Boxer, which they have approximately 200 of them. And to close it all off, let's take a look at some of the guns that these guys use. Because for regular soldiers, when it comes to equipment, they use the Canadian C8 and C7 rifle, which is a 5.56mm NATO round. Apparently for assault rifles, they also use the Heckler & Koch HK416. But as for machine guns, it's been stated that they use the FN Minimi and the FN MAG. So either way, guys, that is just a look at the Netherlands Army. What are your thoughts on this? And of course, guys, if we missed any facts, be sure to let us know down there in the comment section below. Also, with that, if you guys want to learn more, I always say we have a huge community here. We actually have some guys that watch these videos that are from the military, so if you want to learn more, always go down there in the comment section below and just read some of their stuff, because they actually do a really good job of adding more or sometimes even correcting some of our facts. It's really good. I feel always very positive when, you know, we have people who actually have hands-on experience to come in there and actually tell us different. So it's a continuous learning thing. Other than that, guys, if it's your first time here, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell notification if you like learning about militaries from around the world. And if you like learning about countries, we also do that. We look at what is great about different nations from around the world. And also, if you like this video and you want more Netherlands military videos, be sure to hit that like button, because if we get a lot, I will generally do more. But my name's Dave Wapple. I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next video. Okay? All right. See you later. Bye. Oh, okay, yeah, by the way, guys, before you get out of here, be sure to check out some of these videos on the Netherlands Army. I got a lot in the description box below, and here's a video right here. On top of that, be sure to check out our military playlist, where you can learn about many different militaries from around the world. So if you are a military nut like me, then you want to check these out. All right, cool. I'll see you later, guys.